Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Six-Path Weeb, and today we're diving into a brand new fanfic adventure. Our topic is, what if sealing Kaguya transported Naruko to another world? Part 3. Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer, all content here is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I don't own any of the anime footage used, full credit goes to the original creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's get started. The sun had yet to rise when Naruko was woken by the soft chorus of birds singing outside the window. With a tired yawn, she sat up on the couch she had slept on and rubbed the sleep from her eyes. Reaching out lazily, she flicked on the lamp, lighting up the small, cozy kitchen where she had spent the night. It wasn't her first choice, of course. Naruko had given Toph the last furnished bedroom, leaving herself with just the beat-up couch she had found in one of the old barns. It wasn't fancy, but it would do until she could make, or find, something better. She remembered building a few pieces of furniture during her early missions, but cutting down trees seemed like too much effort right now. Besides, she had slept on worse. Morning, Kurama greeted her from inside. What's the plan for today? I guess I'll start by fixing up the farm, Naruko replied, stretching. She walked over to the window, squinting as the first hints of sunrise began to paint the horizon. Then, back to the drawing board. The drawing board? I still need to figure out how to get home, Naruko said, splashing water on her face at the kitchen sink. Summoning the toads didn't work, so I'll have to try something else. Well, Kurama said thoughtfully, I suppose the easy way would be to restore Kaguya's powers. Naruko frowned. Even if I knew how, there's no telling what Kaguya would do if she had her powers back. Another option is learning how to open a portal from her, Kurama suggested. If it's even possible. Probably not, Naruko shook her head. Without chakra coils, I couldn't just transfer enough energy to make a portal. It would just disperse. That's true. For better or worse, Kaguya has lost the ability to control chakra. Honestly, even I'm in a better situation than her, and I'm stuck inside you. You know you love me, fuzzball. Ha! Don't try to make me laugh this early, Kurama replied. Naruko just shook her head and got dressed. Stepping outside, the crisp morning air was refreshing. She looked over the ruined fields and barns. The farm had clearly been abandoned for a while, though she wondered how it had ended up in Miss Smith's hands and why it had been left like this. Why bother if you're just going to leave? Kurama asked. I already told you, Naruko replied, watching the sun peek over the horizon. Even after I leave, the girls will still need a place to live. I might as well make it nice for them. Kurama chuckled. So that's your motivation, huh? Yosh, Naruko exclaimed, pumping herself up. I have a good feeling about today. Oh? And why's that? I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a good day. She headed back into the house and climbed the stairs. Outside Toph's room, she knocked gently. Wah? A groggy voice mumbled. It's me, Naruko said, clearing her throat. Oh. Come in. Toph's voice dragged lazily as Naruko stepped inside, and froze. The room was a whirlwind. Pillows were tossed across the floor, the duvet lay in a crumpled heap, and clothes were scattered everywhere. Toph herself was half on the bed, one arm and leg dangling off the side. Her blonde hair, tied in a ponytail, peeked out from under her hat. Naruko quickly averted her eyes, muttering to herself about the mess. Still sure today's going to be good? Kurama teased. Why yeah. Naruko replied, shaking off the shock. She focused on tidying a corner while Toph rolled off the bed and landed on a pile of clothes. What do you want, boss? Toph mumbled, brushing herself off. I'm making breakfast, Naruko said with a small smile. K, Toph replied, trying to sit up but collapsing back onto the bed with a soft thud. Naruko chuckled quietly. I guess I'll leave you to your dreams for a little longer. She glanced down at a small rat peeking out from under a jacket and jumped back, then hurried out to the next room. The door to Shishi's room opened smoothly. Inside, it was neat and orderly, completely the opposite of Toph's chaos. Shishi sat at her desk in a long nightshirt, carefully taking notes in a book. She looked up as Naruko entered. Good morning, Naruko said cheerfully. This is the dedication expected of a police cadet, Shishi said proudly. A recruit must be a living embodiment of the law. Sounds tough, Naruko smiled. But nothing worth doing is easy. Indeed, Shishi nodded, placing a bookmark in her book. Why are you here? Just to let you know I'll start breakfast soon, Naruko replied. I see. Thank you for the update. I'll be down shortly, I just need to get changed. Naruko left the room with a smile. At least someone here respects rules, she thought. Kurama snorted. Someone has too, he said. The final door loomed ahead. Naruko knocked softly, then harder when no answer came. She paused, wondering if the occupant had already left for the day. Kurama, she whispered, bracing herself to see what surprises awaited behind this last door. Several minutes earlier. The sound of Naruko knocking on Toph's door stirred Kaguya from her slumber. Groggily, she lifted herself from her bed and, stepping carefully between the rabbits that were dozing in her room, made her way to her kimono hanging in the closet. The early morning chill nipped at her, but since this was her only outfit, she accepted it quietly. After all, it was better to be uncluttered than messy when alone, and the only other presence in the house that wasn't a rabbit was her servant, considered practically invisible to her. Kaguya thought about Naruko briefly and felt a flutter of unease at the idea of her helping with anything personal. Shaking it off, she focused on her room. It was tidy, partly because she had so little to decorate with, but it never felt like home. She glanced at her kimono, noticing the fabric was starting to fray. She paused, softly touching the sleeve, remembering the faint burn mark where silver-haired energy had struck it long ago. Rather than replace it, she decided it was a keepsake of a world she had left behind. She heard Naruko at the next door, probably knocking on Toph's. Sliding into her kimono, she let the slightly damaged sleeve hang loose. Sitting on the bed, she lifted the hem to slip on her socks, revealing bare ankles. I should apologize to my servant for yesterday, she mused. Though. She is still learning her duties. Perhaps I was too quick to anger. The ogre woman, yes, that must have been it. Seeing her favored by my servant was vexing. Still, Naruko will learn in time. Lost in thought, Kaguya nearly jumped when Naruko quietly opened the door and stepped inside. Hey Kaguya. You're still here? Naruko let out a relieved sigh, though Kaguya's reaction was far from expected. What are you doing? Kaguya stammered, quickly lowering her kimono to cover her ankles. You intruder, she exclaimed, waving her hand in embarrassment. I'm sorry? Naruko blinked, clearly confused. Before Kaguya could reply, Shishi hurried into the room, looking alarmed. What's happening here? She glanced between Kaguya, who was flushed with embarrassment, and Naruko, who looked genuinely innocent. This intruder walked into my room while I wasn't fully dressed. Kaguya protested, pointing an accusatory finger. Naruko raised an eyebrow. I literally just walked in a moment ago. You're dressed now, just like before. She rubbed her cheek thoughtfully. My ankles were exposed. Kaguya huffed, looking away. Really, how old are you? Shishi asked. Ankles aren't considered scandalous anymore. How fortunate for you, Kaguya replied, indignant. It seems your kind has lost all sense of modesty. You say that. But you met that toad delinquent, Shishi replied, frowning. Before Kaguya could respond, Toph strolled in, rubbing her eyes. What's all the noise? She muttered, still sleepy and balancing her practice stick over her shoulder. I didn't even get a full nap. Are you trying to break public decency rules? Shishi asked, noticing Toph's untied chest bindings. Toph yawned and shrugged. Nah. Only wear those 'cause getting in trouble for being naked isn't my style. I go down like a boss. How lazy, Kaguya commented without turning, though she allowed herself a small smile. But I suppose it is to be expected of a child. Child? You got a problem with me? Toph snapped. Oh, forgive me, Kaguya said with exaggerated politeness. I mistook your stature for youth. Fight me, Toph yelled, stepping forward, but Naruko and Shishi gently held her back. Kaguya sighed dramatically. Ah, the theatrics of youth. Breakfast in 10 minutes, everyone, Naruko scolded gently. Save the quarrels for later. Very well, Kaguya replied, smoothing her kimono. And if you would kindly leave, I may dress in peace. Consider it a privilege to witness so much of my noble self, it shall not happen again. Thank you for the honor of seeing your ankle, Naruko said deadpan as she led Toph away. I'm gonna get her later, Toph muttered, already half asleep again. Perhaps some calm is best, Shishi remarked, following. Later on. Breakfast was quiet, a rare moment of calm. Naruko and the girls sat together at the table. Kaguya ate carefully, fascinated by the strange flakes in her bowl. Milk had been poured over them, and the taste was oddly delightful. She couldn't help but be curious about this new world. Shishi observed her, amused at how gracefully Kaguya carried herself despite the novelty of her surroundings. Even as she ate with enthusiasm, her posture was impeccable, a testament to her noble upbringing. Toph, meanwhile, struggled to stay awake, leaning on her hand with heavy eyelids. Her chest bindings were loose from exhaustion. Kaguya watched quietly, a small smile tugging at her lips. Perhaps next time, I'll let Toph sleep in, Kaguya whispered to herself, a thought of kindness passing through her mind. But before she could dwell on it further, Toph dozed off completely, face first into her toast. Naruko shook her head, hiding a smile. Truly, manners are lost on some, Kaguya sighed softly, turning back to her cereal. What ya staring at? Toph mumbled sleepily, still half in a dream. Kaguya only shook her head, smiling. In this strange new world, perhaps she could learn a few small joys yet. You're really not a morning person, are you? Naruko shook her head. Nothing fun happens in the morning, Toph grumbled. All the exciting stuff happens at night, you know? Only mistakes and mischief happen at night, Shishi scowled. Like I said, that's when all the fun stuff happens, Toph smirked. Like sneaking out to explore or painting the town with color instead of paint. Adventurous mischief can lead to trouble, Shishi frowned. Ha! Even you might enjoy a little harmless fun, Toph winked at Naruko. First of all, referring to Agent Smith like that is. Well. Breaking a rule somewhere, Naruko began. Too early for rules. Toph groaned, flopping back on the table. I just want to go back to bed. Secondly, Shishi frowned. It's only just past 6 o'clock. What, 6 a.m.? Toph groaned. Who wakes people up this early? For my morning exercises, I wake up at 5, Shishi replied matter-of-factly. I just rise with the sun and sleep when I feel tired, Kaguya shrugged. I'm a ninja, I'm ready to go whenever I wake up, Naruko said, glancing at Toph. So I guess that makes you the odd one out. Really? Toph yawned. What kind of training makes you able to wake up like that? Well, it involved a lot of early mornings and surprises, Naruko laughed. Kaguya's eyes narrowed. I know not what this training is, but it seems to have caused many unusual habits. Unusual? Naruko rubbed the back of her head. Maybe, but it made me ready for anything. Kaguya straightened. Be grateful. I promised to teach you some manners yesterday before your clone ran out of energy. Ran out? Right. Totally what happened, Naruko nodded, trying not to think too much about what really happened with that clone. As much as I appreciate it, Naruko chuckled, I still have work to do to get this house into shape. You flatter me, Kaguya said, narrowing her eyes. You are starting to show the minimum skills of a proper helper. Thanks? Naruko said awkwardly. Shishi piped up, do you have plans today? I was thinking of a morning jog, Shishi replied, if you could provide a clone to accompany me. We've been over this, Naruko laughed. Remember the results of our last bet? Ah, Shishi nodded. Still, company would be appreciated. If you want company, you could help clear some junk from the fields, Naruko suggested. It might not be jogging, but at least it's something useful. I suppose I can jog later, Shishi agreed. Great. And Toph can. Get a little more rest, Naruko said with a grin. Her laziness will be handled, Kaguya frowned. Even with noble heritage, I've been too lax. I thought nobles mostly sat around getting rich, Naruko said, surprised. They have responsibilities too, Kaguya explained. A noble must care for and guide those around them. Ha, Naruko said thoughtfully. Then why? Go a little overboard? Some misunderstandings happened, Shishi said. Naruko quickly summarized. She tried to protect everyone in her own way, but it wasn't quite right. Wait. Seriously? Toph asked. Exactly, Naruko said. She comes from a place that isn't very peaceful, and she wanted to fix it in a way that seemed too controlling. Oh. That makes sense now, Shishi said, wide-eyed. Your mother and daughter, Naruko laughed. What? Kaguya and Naruko yelled in surprise. Getting back to my story, Kaguya continued, I only ever wanted to keep everyone safe. My children, Hagoromo and Homura, were my greatest joy. But sometimes, even the best intentions don't go as planned. Even if mistakes happen, Naruko said gently, we can always try to make things right. Exactly, Kaguya said with a small smile. Sometimes, you just need guidance and a little patience. So a false peace then? Shishi asked. Not quite, Naruko said. It's more like learning the right way to help, the right way to care, and making sure everyone is happy while staying safe. Ah, Toph nodded. I get it now. And that, Naruko said, stretching, is how even early mornings can start an adventure. Yes. Naruko looked at Kaguya. See. She gets it. I don't want eternal war any more than you, but your kind of peace. It wouldn't have really been peace. And your idea of peace is better? Kaguya shook her head sadly. I have seen enough of humanity to know that even the best version of your peace might last only a few generations. Unless you plan to live forever and make people behave perfectly. If I did that, I'd probably go a little crazy from all the... Oh. Oh. Naruko's eyes widened as a thought struck her. Oh. What is it? Have you overworked your mind again? Kaguya asked, raising an eyebrow. I think I get it now. It must have been so frustrating. No matter what you did, you just couldn't stop people from being people. I mean, Sasuke annoys me so much with his stubbornness sometimes. Great wait, are you calling someone else stubborn? Great. Having to watch people make the same mistakes over and over and not being able to stop them. I guess I'd want to try and help them act differently, Naruko said, smiling softly at Kaguya. It would have made things so much easier. I severely doubt you can truly understand, Kaguya said, shaking her head. Although, it does seem you've made some kind of breakthrough. Maybe you're not beyond hope. I was thinking the same thing about you, Naruko chuckled. I don't really get what you're all talking about, but I guess it doesn't really matter to me, Toph frowned. That wasn't as exciting as I hoped it would be. I turned into a giant fox and launched an attack that could level an entire mountain, Naruko deadpanned. Exciting. Toph nodded, finally settling down to eat her breakfast. Well, she said, finishing her meal, I suppose we should get started on that field now. Yeah, Naruko got up. I'll have a clone handle the dirty dishes. Actually, Kaguya stood up gracefully. As I mentioned earlier, I have been neglectful in my duties as a noble and the head of this household. I will now start fulfilling my role. First of all, there will be no free riders. Everyone, guests and helpers alike, must contribute to reduce the unnecessary chakra usage by an unnamed member of this household. Unnamed? I'm the only one who can use it. Naruko protested. I will assign jobs to the other guests, Kaguya continued, ignoring Naruko's outburst. The dishes shall be cleaned by Nectar-free-san. Toph, just call me Toph. And why would I just do what you say? Because this is your last chance to stay on the exchange project if I understand Sunglass's words correctly. I care not for your reasons for being here, but as a noble, I will not allow idleness. I will also help you improve your mind and manners. I have the feeling I should leave some clones here, Naruko muttered to Shishi, who nodded. This could get interesting. You know what? Toph scowled. What the heck? She deflated. Whatever. I can't be bothered arguing. If you're trying to hypnotize the entire planet, I guess my complaining won't stop you. She stretched. Could be worse, I guess. At least I just have to clean dishes, right? For a start, yes, Kaguya nodded. Gee. Spider-san shall assist my servant today, and my servant. You are required to finish all tasks needed to prepare the farm by the end of the day. Wait a minute. Naruko protested. Toph just cleans dishes, and I have to get the entire farm running? You have your clones and you are my servant. You should be able to manage this. Not to mention, you were planning to do this anyway, Kaguya said, glancing at Toph. Besides, I do not have high hopes for this one. Ha! Sucks to be useful. Toph proudly declared. Being a hero means not doing chores. Bunny Boss gets it. I don't understand why she's proud of being a nuisance, Shishi remarked dryly, as Toph leaned back in her chair with her feet on the table, until Kaguya's glare made her sit up straight. Well, Naruko shrugged as they left the kitchen. Everyone needs to be proud of something, I guess? Great like you're proud of. Wait, what do you have to be proud of? Oh right. Your connection to me. Great. Naruko ignored the fox's chatter. Well, let's get this over with. She stepped out onto the farm, looked at the scattered piles of debris, and formed a familiar hand seal. Much later, Kaguya was officially stumped. She had expected a little resistance to her plans from Naruko, so when the spirited girl had not resisted, Kaguya had been wary but somewhat hopeful. She had left Naruko alone with a sink full of warm, soapy water and the dishes from breakfast, thinking it would be a simple task. Kaguya had even added the modern wonders of a boiler and shiny kitchen appliances to her list of things she loved. She had a soft spot for the little conveniences of human life. Not 5 minutes later, Kaguya returned to find Naruko sitting among a scattered pile of bowls, cups, and cutlery, the dishwasher sputtering oddly, and a faint smell of burnt soap in the air. Goodness, Kaguya exclaimed, quickly turning off the appliance before anything else could get ruined. Naruko shrugged, a mischievous twinkle in her eyes. I dunno. I'm not exactly a dishwashing ninja. But, I think I did my best? Kaguya pinched the bridge of her nose. There is not being good at something and then there is this. Even my most absent-minded servant could not create such chaos in so short a time. Aw, come on. It's not my fault the house isn't ready for my style of cleaning, Naruko said, puffing up proudly. Besides, if I were bossing anyone around, I'd make it fun. You gotta admit, I make chores way more exciting. Exciting is not the word I would use, Kaguya muttered. But as Naruko laughed, Kaguya realized the girl was unfazed, fearless, and impossibly cheerful. Maybe you're still feeling sour because someone else bested you, Naruko said thoughtfully, tilting her head. But hey, don't let it make you cranky. Life's too short to frown when there's so much fun to be had. Kaguya frowned, unsure how to respond. Naruko, noticing, gave a small, teasing salute. All right, master, Naruko said with mock seriousness, I'll tackle your next task. Just promise me it won't be too boring. Bubble bath? Soap? Towels? I can totally make it fun. Bubble bath? Kaguya asked, curious despite herself. Yep. It's water that smells nice and makes you feel all relaxed. Totally magical, Naruko said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I've never had one myself, but I figure someone like you would enjoy it. Very well, Kaguya said, sighing. A simple hot bath will suffice. Water only. Simple? PFF, leave it to me, Naruko replied, marching into the house with a confident bounce in her step. Moments later, she paused. Wait. Where's the bathroom? She wandered through the large, twisting halls of the house, poking into rooms with curiosity. Most were empty, but a few caught her eye. This must be the copper's room, she said, stepping inside. Books and papers were stacked neatly on Shishi's desk. Unsolved mysteries? Caring for magical creatures? Wow, fancy. She peeked at a hammock in the corner. Guess she doesn't like sleeping in a normal bed. Still. Not a bath in sight. Before leaving, Naruko rearranged a few books, quietly giggling at the tiny prank. This must be the bunny's room, she whispered as dozens of tiny rabbits turned to stare at her in unison. Naruko froze, eyes wide, then smiled. Wow, that's a lot of little friends. Better leave them be. She shut the door gently, careful not to disturb the calm. As she wandered, she whispered to herself, how big is this house? It's like a castle. Naruko had a plan, find the bath, make Kaguya smile, and maybe, just maybe, add a little sparkle of fun to the day. And she was determined to succeed, no matter how tricky the giant, twisty house was. In the fields. Shishi frowned as the clones brought her items to inspect. It was kind of sad to see how little care people had shown for the land, tossing all sorts of junk across the farm as if it no longer mattered. Part of her wanted to find whoever had done it and ask them to help clean up, so they could see the value in caring for the earth. She had always thought cities were spotless, but apparently, the litter just got hidden out of sight. Is this useful? A clone asked, holding out a burnt-out laptop. No, Shishi shook her head and gestured toward the towering piles of discarded items. It might even have been used for something bad before being dumped. It's useless now. The clone tossed it onto the growing heap of broken fridges and bent appliances. Shishi sighed. People probably found it easier to dump things than to fix them. She made a mental note to mention this to Agent Smith later, though she hadn't been able to reach her on the phone. Every time she tried, it went straight to voicemail. Well, Naruko wiped sweat from her brow as she approached Shishi, looks like the fields are almost done. Shame there wasn't much we could save. The barns still need a look, though. I only peeked in once before, but there seemed to be some huge machinery and plenty of tools. Hopefully nothing important has been taken, Shishi said with a frown. With this land being unused for so long, I'm not too hopeful. Yeah, Naruko nodded, her expression thoughtful. Some of this stuff must have been here forever. Rust doesn't lie. I never asked why Ms. Smith left this place open. Perhaps it was too expensive to maintain, Shishi suggested. But with your clones, Naruko, you could probably run it yourself pretty easily. That's true, Naruko smiled. Fresh vegetables are the best kind, after all. And it's satisfying to grow your own food, Shishi added, glancing at the clones. Oh yeah, Naruko laughed. With your hunting instincts, you'd probably enjoy the whole process of catching or growing your own meals. There's a certain pride in preparing food myself, Shishi admitted. Though I'm not much better than you at cooking beyond the basics. Naruko chuckled. I learned a few tricks from a mentor called Jiraiya. He made life on the road a lot more interesting. Shishi tilted her head curiously. Mentor? Kind of like a teacher. Or a very unconventional guardian. He was one of the most skilled ninja in our village. Everyone respected his abilities, even if he was a little eccentric. Shishi blinked. Eccentric? Naruko smiled softly. Let's just say he had a funny way of seeing the world. But he taught me a lot about courage, kindness, and doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Shishi nodded. I'm sure he's proud of you. I hope so, Naruko said, looking toward the sky. Even if sometimes it feels like I just have to figure things out on my own. They made their way to one of the larger barns. Man, it's dusty in here, Naruko coughed, brushing off her clothes. Feels like no one's been inside for ages. Shishi's eyes lit up as she spotted an old fireplace. Strange. And over here. Naruko laughed. An anvil. This must have been a forge. Exactly, Shishi agreed. They would have used it to make and repair tools. Smart, really, if maintaining a farm was expensive. Naruko tried on a thick leather apron she found. Do you think it suits me? Shishi giggled. It's far too big for you, Handler-san. The two explored the barn together, finding little relics of the past. Candles, old tables, and drawers full of forgotten odds and ends. Every item told a story of someone who had worked, lived, and dreamed here long ago. Suddenly, Naruko froze. I sensed something. Alive. Hungry. Shishi's eyes widened. Where? I don't think it's dangerous, but we should be careful. Before they could step closer, a small rat peeked out and scurried away at Naruko's warning toss. Shishi exhaled in relief. A rat? Naruko laughed softly. Just a tiny reminder that even old places have life. Their stomachs growled in unison. Shishi blushed. I guess it's close to lunchtime. Let's head back, Naruko said cheerfully. I think we've explored enough for today. As they walked across the fields toward the house, Shishi glanced back at the barn. I could have sworn I saw something on the roof. Naruko smiled, patting her shoulder gently. Sometimes, the imagination is the most magical part of exploring. Let's save it for another day. And together, they headed home, the sun warming their backs and the fields stretching endlessly before them, full of forgotten stories waiting to be discovered. Back at the house. When Naruko and Shishi entered the main entrance to the house, they had expected chaos. Surely Toph would have been rebelling against Kaguya at some point while they were away, and Naruko braced for broken furniture, overturned tables, and perhaps a furious Kaguya. Instead, what they saw was unusual. Toph sat smugly in the middle of the living room, and Kaguya looked entirely different. She leaned on Toph, her eyes distant and sparkling, as if she were floating in her own little world. I didn't expect this, Naruko blinked. I thought there'd be a war zone. Great. One might say you were expecting them both to be hopping mad? Great. Kurama, not now. Naruko muttered under her breath. Look who's here, Kaguya giggled as they entered. Look at her legs. She has legs for days, Kaguya laughed so hard she nearly toppled over. Naruko glanced at Toph, who snorted with laughter. Care to explain? Toph grinned wickedly. Well, I don't take kindly to being bossed around, you know? Shishi's eyes widened. What have you done? No one bosses Toph-sama like that, she declared, arms crossed. So, I had an idea this morning. Remember how I can make a special tonic in my escape story? Well, maybe a little of it would help the bunny lighten up. You mean, you gave her something? Shishi gasped. That's against the rules. Relax, Copper, Toph said with a smirk. At worst, it makes you feel a little wobbly. Seems it worked differently with the bunny. She got giggly instead of angry. Wait. When did you learn that strange trick Asura inheritor Chan uses? Kaguya laughed. There are so many Spider-Chans. She rolled on the floor, still giggling. Naruko approached Kaguya gently. How did you get her to drink it? Well, Toph said, the bunny was ordering me to do chores, then wanted a bath. And everyone knows what goes well with a bath. She grinned. A nice glass of cold milk. You poisoned her milk? Shishi scowled. Toph, that is so irresponsible. See? Toph shrugged. She's fine. And I'm not going back to where I came from, my pride won't allow it. You know. Kaguya tilted her head toward Toph. You're, well, a little chaotic. And your speech is colorful. She paused. But that's all. Toph let go of her and Kaguya fell back on the floor giggling. Naruko lifted Kaguya gently in her arms. Come on, you need to rest. You have such wonderful eyes, Kaguya murmured. And you're very dizzy, Naruko chuckled. She carried Kaguya upstairs. I'm sorry, Kaguya whispered. For what? Naruko asked. For being a crabby bunny, Kaguya mumbled. Don't worry about it, Naruko smiled. Do you hate me? Kaguya asked softly. Hate you? Naruko frowned. When Obito. I mean, when that man caused trouble, yes, I was upset. But now? We're here together, and that matters more than anything else. I've lost my way, Kaguya whispered. I used to know everything. Now I'm stuck in a world I don't understand. You're not alone, Naruko said warmly. We're in this together. Don't get too friendly with me, stinky servant, Kaguya teased. Have you bathed? A quick wash, Naruko admitted. Not enough, Kaguya declared. As my servant, you must always smell pleasant. Naruko chuckled. I'll wash properly later. Good, Kaguya giggled. Look at all the bunnies. Naruko glanced around and froze. Dozens of rabbits were perched on shelves, peeking from corners, their tiny eyes sparkling like mischief itself. I'll just put you down here on the bed, Naruko said, gently setting her down. Bedtime? Kaguya's voice wobbled. Sure, Naruko smiled softly. Undress me, servant, Kaguya commanded. Excuse me? Naruko blinked. I can't sleep in this outfit. I'd smell worse than you, my servant. Naruko paused. Maybe Shishi could help. No. Kaguya crossed her arms and pouted. You follow my orders, silly servant. Naruko backed away, sighing, and Kaguya's eyes soon drooped with sleep. Good night, Naruko whispered. Good night? Kaguya murmured before curling up into a soft snore. Naruko chuckled as she quietly closed the door. Downstairs, Shishi was wrestling with Toph, who refused to be tied down. I apologize for the mess, Shishi said, straining against Toph. Let her go, Naruko sighed. Shishi released Toph, who rubbed her wrists and grinned. Next time, I'll have even more fun. You tried to trick a friend, Shishi scolded. And you tried to grab her arm. Toph shot back. Naruko held up a hand. Enough. No more tricks, all right? Toph grumbled, fine. But she doesn't show me any respect. That's no reason to cause trouble, Shishi said firmly. Naruko nodded. We live and learn. Let's promise each other that next time, we try kindness first. Toph and Shishi both bowed slightly. Good, Naruko smiled. Now, let's see what we've got for the exchange program. She opened the door to find a delivery truck outside, and a tired man with a clipboard. Hello. Delivery for Labor Saver? He asked politely. Yes, that's me, Naruko said, smiling. Ken Minoru, the man introduced himself. I've got supplies for the exchange program. Naruko followed him to the truck, eyes wide at the enormous stack of boxes. That's a lot. Ken laughed. Better have your team ready to help unload. Naruko grinned. We've got this. Let's get to work. And so, with bunnies watching from every corner and Toph plotting her next harmless prank, Naruko, Shishi, and Kaguya began another day filled with adventure, laughter, and surprises, proving that even the strangest house could feel like home. Didn't you bring anyone to help you unload it? Naruko asked. Like I said, I was told by Ms. Smith you had everything you needed to unload the truck and that the government didn't need to spend extra money on more staff. Cheapskate, Naruko sighed, while Shishi quietly nodded in agreement. I guess I'll have to figure this out myself then. She concentrated and suddenly, a small crowd of cheerful clones appeared beside her. You can make clones? Ken raised an eyebrow but shrugged before returning to his paperwork. That's your reaction? Shishi blinked. Don't you find it a little unusual? I've seen plenty of unusual things, Ken chuckled. If there are such things as liminals, then why not humans with special powers? In her defense, where I come from, this would be completely normal, Naruko added. Honestly, it was your reaction I found a little odd. So, what exactly is in here? She tried to ignore the occasional crashing sounds as two clones dropped a crate marked fragile, blaming each other while giggling. Furniture, some electronics, Ken said, leaning against the trailer. Also some food and essential supplies. We found the ramen. A group of clones cheered, bouncing in excitement. So, Naruko watched her clones energetically continue unloading the truck. You enjoy your work? She asked, feeling a little awkward. It has its hard days, but it pays the bills, Ken said with a shrug. Though I could never do what you do. My work? Naruko blinked. Well, being a ninja isn't for everyone, I guess. Ninja? Ken raised an eyebrow but didn't ask more. I meant being a farmer. A farmer? Well, that's what I'll be eventually. For now, I'm just hosting a few girls like Shishi, but I hope to get this farm running someday. She glanced at the freshly cleared field stretching out before her. You're setting yourself up for long days, Ken observed. Although with your clones, it might not be so bad. As long as you know what you're doing. Yeah. I really need Ms. Smith to send me some guides or something, Naruko said, rubbing the back of her head. Oh? Ken tilted his head. You don't know much about running a farm? A little, maybe. Long ago I did some simple work on one, but mostly just following orders without thinking about it. Well. Ken stroked his chin thoughtfully. There's another farm not far from here. I deliver goods there sometimes as part of the exchange program. I'm sure they could give you some pointers. Really? Naruko's eyes sparkled. I learn best by doing things myself, so if someone could show me, that would be way better than just reading books all day. Next time I visit, I'll ask the farm's owner if they can give you a few tips. That would be amazing. Naruko nodded as her clones finished unloading the last crates. Just one more thing, Ken said, handing Naruko a small package. I was told to make sure you got this no matter what. What could be more important than food and supplies? She wondered aloud. Knowing Ms. Smith, probably a book, Ken said with a knowing grin. Naruko opened the package. Inside was a book titled An Idiot's Guide to Liminals, along with a letter. She unfolded it and began to read. Hello Naruko. I hope this letter finds you well. Please don't do anything too reckless, finding a replacement would be way too much work. The book should answer your questions about the girls you're living with and any future editions. I've marked pages that are especially helpful. I've also arranged for a computer to be sent, so you can search for information without needing my help. Hopefully, someone in the house can assist if needed. Great. She isn't even trying to hide the fact she's planning to eat my cooking, is she? Great. Naruko rolled her eyes at the note and continued reading. If you need anything, within reason, feel free to contact me. Email, 1, shy, girl 0. Phone, 555-010-4837. I've set up an email account for you. Username, Labor, Saver, Awk10. Password, Smith is awesome 01. See you soon. Kuroko Smith, Local Coordinator. P.S. I sent some amazing coffee cakes from a little store near my apartment. Make sure they're ready for me when I visit. Naruko sighed, waving goodbye to Ken. I guess we should get started sorting through all this furniture. Even with her clones helping, there were still many pieces to assemble, but she felt excited at the thought of having a proper bed to lie in. Well, no time like the present, she muttered, rolling up her sleeves and diving in. Ken climbed back into his van and started the engine. He smiled as he looked at Naruko and her clones working together. What an interesting girl, he said quietly before driving away. Some time later. Naruko nodded happily as she walked through the now furnished house. What had once been a large empty room at the center of the farming complex was now a cozy living area, filled with chairs, loungers, and soft cushions, enough to accommodate both humans and liminal visitors. The sheer number of seats made Naruko suspect Smith might be sending more soon, but she chose to ignore that and focus on the enormous TV that dominated one wall. It was the largest she had ever seen, yet it was thinner than anything from her old world. Shishi had explained that such things were common these days. Naruko sank into one of the plush chairs facing the screen, letting out a contented sigh as the cushions hugged her. There are still some boxes to deal with, Shishi said, entering the room. Including a computer. A computer? Naruko frowned. We had something like that back home, but they were huge, mostly for the intel and medical teams. They weren't exactly portable. But if this TV is anything to go by, I bet there are ones so small you could carry them anywhere. There are, Shishi replied with a gentle smile. They're called laptops, small computers designed to travel with you. This world truly is something else. Naruko reached for the remote and pushed a lever on the chair that made it lean back. It's official. I love the technology here. I shall continue assisting your clones, Shishi said with a respectful bow. And afterward, I shall take a shower, if that's acceptable to you. You don't need my permission to shower, Naruko laughed. We've been over that. Yes. You are correct, Shishi replied, bowing slightly before leaving the room. Oh, what you watching? Toph's voice called as she strolled in, hands tucked into her jacket pockets. I have no idea, Naruko admitted, staring at the screen. Oh, just some anime? Toph scoffed. Pass me the remote. Anime? Naruko repeated. You don't know what that is? Toph chuckled. Back in Konoha, most of what I watched was ninja missions or news. The few children's shows were always about heroes like Treeman saving the village from bad guys like the Iwa Boulder, Kumo Bolt, or Kiri Fog. Those sound like other ninja villages, Shishi said, having returned and overhearing. Exactly. Naruko nodded. Though they were more like stories to make the bad guys look really, really bad. Shishi raised an eyebrow. That sounds more like propaganda than entertainment. Naruko crossed her arms. I have no idea what you mean. What? No Pledge of Allegiance at the end? How do shows end without that? You're joking, right? Shishi asked uncertainly. Hang on. Toph snatched the remote. Yakuza Onslaught is next. What's that? Naruko asked, intrigued. He, Toph giggled, it's just the wildest adventure. It's about two brothers, Genji and Hanzo, who go on this crazy journey to fix the wrongs done to their family. Full of action and clever tricks, you've got to see it. Naruko wrinkled her nose. That sounds like a lot of fighting. If they had just talked things out, it would have been over in minutes. I don't think that's very wholesome. Spoilers, Toph yelled at Shishi. Now the boss knows. Shishi sighed, grabbing the remote back. We still have work to do. Let's focus, please. Fine, Toph muttered, stepping away. Naruko headed down the hallway to the designated computer room, guided by Shishi. She didn't quite understand Wi-Fi or routers, but trusted Shishi knew best. So, Naruko looked at the several boxes in front of her. One TV, one metal box thing, two plugs, and a ton of wires and small pieces. How hard can this be? She began assembling the computer, carefully following the picture on the box. Looks about right. Now, let's see what happens when I turn it on. Plugging in the tower and screen, she switched on the power. A small green light blinked on the tower. It lives, Naruko laughed. Okay. Now what? She sifted through the boxes and found a thick manual. Computer User's Manual. What? This is enormous. Wait, I've got it. Ignoring Kurama's cautious warnings, Naruko tore the book into equal sections and summoned several clones, handing each one a piece. If we all read our bits, then together we'll know everything. I'm a genius. The clones cheered, flipping through their pages as Naruko grinned. She loved the idea of learning together, discovering new things in this strange, wonderful world that seemed full of endless possibilities. Some time later. Handler-san? Shishi peeked her head into the room. Are you all right? How are things going? He. Naruko was sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by torn pages from a thick book. Do you know what a universal serial bus is? A USB? Shishi blinked, a little surprised by the question. Then she noticed the cover on one of the torn pages. Have you read the whole user manual already? I have, Naruko said seriously, though her eyes looked a little lost. I know the difference between random access memory and read-only memory. I know what a gigabyte and a gigabit is. I know what a gigahertz is and how quad-core processors improve performance. But I still can't get it to turn on. It's like I know everything but understand nothing. It's just memorizing facts without really knowing what they mean. Allow me to assist you, Handler-san, Shishi said kindly. Thank you, Naruko said, standing up with a relieved smile. So, I've got this green light here, she pointed at the tower, but that's it. There should be some installation instructions, Shishi said, digging through a pile of boxes before pulling out a thinner pamphlet. Here we go. Step by step. First, make sure all electronics are turned off. She switched off the power. Step 2, check that we have all the pieces. One monitor, check. Do we really have to do every step? Can't we just skip to the end? Shishi shook her head. We were given these precise instructions for a reason. If we're going to set up this computer, we'll do it properly. She finished checking all the parts. Step 3, connect the monitor to the tower using the provided cable. She handed the cable to Naruko. Naruko peered at the back of the monitor. Oh. I see what you mean. She carefully connected the monitor to the tower. Now can we turn it on? Patience, Shishi said, reading the instructions. Next, we install the keyboard. Naruko calmly followed Shishi's guidance. Do you like doing this sort of thing? She asked as she plugged in the mouse. I do, Shishi smiled. There's something satisfying about following a clear, ordered list. It makes problems easier to handle. Now. You can turn it on. There was a little crackle, and the monitor lit up. It says press any key to continue, Naruko frowned. Any button on the keyboard, Shishi explained. Oh, right. Naruko sat in the chair, while Shishi leaned over her shoulder, guiding her. Now what? You need to click on New Installation, Shishi instructed. What? Use the mouse, that thing next to the keyboard, to move the pointer on the screen. Oh, okay. Where should I click? Shishi leaned in to point, her focus entirely on the screen. Naruko couldn't help but notice how concentrated and happy Shishi looked. It was kind of nice to watch. She really enjoys helping, Naruko thought, smiling quietly to herself. And you seem to be enjoying it too, Kurama teased gently from within her mind. Shut up, you old fox, Naruko muttered. I'm just focused, okay? Maybe not, Kurama chuckled. Shishi encouraged Naruko to type in a username. You can always change it later if you don't like it, she said. Naruko typed her own name and nodded. Now, sign into your email, Shishi guided her hand across the screen, explaining each step. Naruko noticed her hands were warm and soft, and she felt a little spark of comfort. Despite the strange color and shape of Shishi's hands, they were smooth and kind. There. Done, Shishi said proudly, stepping back. You're now signed into your email. That wasn't so hard, was it? No. Thanks, Shishi. I really appreciate your help. Kaguya and we're both kind of new to technology, so this is really helpful. It's my pleasure, Shishi said with a warm smile. Just then, an email popped up. Hey! It's from Ms. Smith, Naruko exclaimed. Dear Labor Saver, hope you get this email. Got an important message for you when I see you next. I wonder what it could be, Shishi said thoughtfully. We'll find out later tonight, I suppose, Naruko said. Or maybe right now? Ms. Smith appeared in the doorway. Oh, you're here, Naruko said, glancing over her shoulder. I haven't started dinner yet. I'm not just here for the food, Ms. Smith said with a smile. I'm here to do my job too. How's the computer learning going? She's picking it up fast, Shishi said proudly. Ms. Smith leaned over the keyboard. What's that? Naruko looked at the screen, then laughed. It's spam. Apparently, a Nigerian prince needs my help. But he just wants my bank account. Shishi and Ms. Smith exchanged amused looks. Naruko grinned, shaking her head. Guess I'll leave the royal rescuing to someone else. Time to make some coffee instead. With teamwork, patience, and a little laughter, Naruko had not only learned how to set up her computer but had shared a sweet, wholesome moment with her friends, turning a tricky task into a joyful adventure. Later on. Stupid Shishi banning me from the computer, Naruko grumbled as she stomped toward the dinner table, where Smith, Toph, and Shishi were already waiting. Ah, excellent, Smith smiled warmly. I always enjoy your cooking. Why? It's nothing special, Naruko replied, flopping into a chair. It's free and edible, Smith nodded. Plus, you make a mean cup of coffee. Thanks, I guess? Naruko muttered as everyone started eating. So, Smith sipped her coffee, where's Kaguya-chan? I have a message for the two of you. She's sleeping after a strange incident that took a lot out of her, Naruko coughed awkwardly. You see, Toph. Shishi began to explain. Is this going to make me fill out some paperwork? Smith asked, rubbing her forehead. A faint frown appeared, but it quickly melted into curiosity. Probably, yes, Shishi nodded. It might even result in Toph's temporary removal from the house. She's making it sound worse than it was. Toph protested, waving her hands wildly. Did Naruko have any objections to Toph remaining here? Smith asked politely. Well, no, but Shishi started. Then that's good enough for me. Issue resolved, Smith said cheerfully, snapping her fingers as she returned her glasses to her face. Another cup of coffee over here, Naruko. But issue resolved, Smith repeated firmly. Well, I guess you'll have to pass the message on to Kaguya-chan, then. Alright, Naruko chuckled. So, what is the big message? First things first, Smith said, putting her cutlery down on a clean plate. Wait. Did you just finish a whole steak that fast? Naruko glanced at Toph, who was trying to tear her well-done steak apart with her hands, and Shishi, calmly cutting her medium-rare steak without scolding her friend. We've barely even started. I'll answer once you bring those lovely little cakes out, Smith smiled. Naruko grinned as a clone appeared, carrying the cakes. Man, you're something else, lady. Right, Smith said, taking a bite of a small coffee cake. You should learn to make your own cakes so I don't have to keep buying them for you to give to me. I'm not your personal chef, Naruko said dryly. I was supposed to sort this out when you first arrived, Smith admitted, licking her fingers clean. But I completely forgot, tee-hee. She playfully tapped her head. You and Kaguya both need complete physicals. Why? Naruko tilted her head. It's the policy for anyone participating in the exchange program, Shishi explained patiently. Since it's a new program, it's important to check for any illnesses, so nothing spreads unintentionally. What she said, Smith nodded. So you and Kaguya will need to come to my office tomorrow. Someone will drive you home afterward. Okay, Naruko shrugged. What about Toph and Shishi? Oh, they'll stay here, Smith replied. By themselves? Naruko glanced at Toph, who was now trying to cut her steak with a bouquin, and Shishi, dabbing steak juices from her face with a napkin. Can't you get Moan or someone to help? They're busy with other missions, Smith explained. And if I send clones, they might get destroyed before I can help. I promise, Handler San, Toph said, puffing her chest out, I will not cause trouble. I am the most senior exchange student here, so I should be in charge. Clearly, I am the only competent one. Well, that law says another human has to temporarily handle things, Smith clarified. Besides, if you're staying here, it really doesn't matter who's in charge. Like hell I'm letting her be my boss. Toph protested, still chewing her steak. I'm not letting little Miss Donut Dunker boss me around. I should be the boss. I am not going to respond, Naruko said calmly. Arguing will only make things worse. Fight me. Toph growled, waving her fork like a sword. And you want me to leave these two alone? Naruko looked at Smith. Hee, Smith laughed softly. Most of the equipment I need can't be brought here anyway. They'll manage to get along. Eventually. Seriously, can't Moan help me out? They are busy elsewhere, sorry, Smith said with a small shrug. Besides, you two might surprise yourselves by cooperating a little. Naruko and Toph exchanged a glance. Cooperation? That sounded challenging. Later that night, Naruko wandered to her small sofa in the kitchen, thinking about the coming day. At least I have a room now, she murmured, reaching for the sheet she used to stay warm. Something sticky clung to her hand. What the? Peering out the window, she saw only the moonlight and shadows dancing on the walls. Maybe some strange thief? She wondered aloud. Kurama's voice rumbled in her mind. Something wrong? I might have had a weird dream, Naruko whispered, still puzzled. This has nothing to do with that, Kurama replied, laughing softly. Naruko shook her head. I'll figure it out tomorrow. She wrapped herself in her sheet, letting the night calm her, ready for whatever adventures awaited her and Toph, and hopefully Kaguya too. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Warm regards. 6 Path Weeb.